If you're in the market for a crossover hybrid, chances are that the Ford Escape and the Kia Sportage have crossed your path. They have similar features, drivetrains, and the option for a traditional or plug-in hybrid. But there are some pretty key differences between them. In this video, I'm going to break down the Kia Sportage and the Ford Escape. I'm going to compare available engine options, technology in the interior and exterior to help you figure out which one makes the most sense for you to look at. Starting off underneath the hood of these vehicles. The Sportage has a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated engine standard with an available 1.6-liter turbocharged traditional or plug-in hybrid. The traditional hybrid gives you great fuel economy, but the plug-in gives you great fuel economy and up to 55 kilometers or 34 miles of fully electric range. Power-wise, the 2.5-liter comes in at 187 horsepower and 178 pound-feet of torque, while the combined power in the hybrids gives it an impressive 227 or 261 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. The Escape, on the other hand, is fairly different. You'll find it with a 1.5-liter turbocharged engine standard in the lower trims, and it has an available 2.5-liter hybrid, 2.5-liter plug-in hybrid, and an impressively powerful 2-liter turbocharged engine. The Escape has more engine options available, and they have varying levels of power. The hybrids push out either 192 or 210 horsepower and 155 pound-feet of torque. The higher horsepower number does go to the plug-in. The 1.5-liter turbo has 180 horsepower and 199 pound-feet of torque, and the available 2-liter has an impressive 250 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. I'd personally go for the 2-liter turbo in the Escape because I'm a bigger fan of power, but if you're more fuel conscious, it might make sense for you to look at the traditional or plug-in hybrid instead. The Sportage and the Escape have very similar fuel economy across all the available engine options. The base 2.5-liter in the Sportage is similar to the 1.5-liter turbo in the Escape, but the available 2-liter turbo in the Escape only uses slightly more fuel than the 1.5-liter. So you'll get like 35% more power in the 2-liter with very similar fuel economy. But to me, that would be a no-brainer for the more powerful engine. But if you're conscious about the price at the pumps, the hybrids will have you impressed. The Escape has slightly better fuel economy compared to the Sportage in some builds, while the reverse is true for others. This category is a tie because of how close the numbers are. There are some key differences in the drivetrain. You'll find the Sportage and the Escape with front-wheel drive standard in the lower trims in North America for the regular gas engines, and then all-wheel drive is also available in those trims. All-wheel drive is going to be standard in the higher trim levels of both. But one thing to note is that the Escape plug-in hybrid is only available front-wheel drive, while the traditional hybrids would be either front-wheel or all-wheel drive, depending on the trim level of the vehicle that you choose. The Sportage, on the other hand, has all-wheel drive standard in most hybrid models, including the plug-in. And there is a big difference between front-wheel and all-wheel drive. Front-wheel drive is the way that you want to go if you want the best fuel economy, or if you live somewhere that doesn't get much snow in the wintertime. You'll want to go for all-wheel drive if you live in a place where it snows, if you want better off-road performance, or better handling in different driving conditions. The vehicles are virtually identical to each other size-wise. The Sportage is a little bit longer, but either way, they're both small enough to fit in a tight driveway or parking lot space without having to worry. Towing is another story. In the Sportage, the towing numbers range from 1,653 pounds to 2,500 pounds, but the higher numbers in the Sportage require you use a trailer that has brakes. The Escape is pretty close for most engines. The hybrids max out at 1,500 pounds, and the 1.5-liter can tow up to 2,000 pounds. But remember that 2-liter turbo? That thing can pull an impressive 3,500 pounds. So if you're looking for a ride with the best towing capacity, the Escape is definitely the way that you want to go. The Sportage and Escape have very similar technology inside and out that's named slightly differently. Both vehicles have a lane keeping and lane center assist systems. They've got blind spot monitoring and available smart cruise or adaptive cruise control. There's a hands-free liftgate and forward and reverse sensing systems. There are some key differences to the liftgate though. The Sportage and Escape both have the option for a hands-free liftgate, but the Escape requires a kick in order to open it up, while the Sportage lets you walk up to the rear, and as long as you have the fob on you, it will automatically open. It's such a neat feature, but I've had a few people mention that the Kia liftgate has caused some chaos in the garage if they don't get out of the way quick enough. On the other hand, the Escape hands-free liftgate might not work if the sensors are covered by mud, ice, or snow. Both vehicles have a fully digital cluster screen, with the Sportage having a unique feature called the blind view monitor. This monitor uses the side-mounted cameras to show off what's in your blind spot right in the cluster screen. It's a subtle but very neat feature. While both vehicles have the option for a 360 camera, the way Kia does it looks nicer in my opinion. You'll also find park assist and a head-up display in the Escape, which aren't available in the Sportage. Both vehicles have media screens that support Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. In the lower trims of each, you'll find a smaller 8-inch screen that doesn't have factory navigation. There's a larger 12.3-inch screen in the Sportage and a 13.2-inch screen in the Escape though that do have factory navigation built in. But here's the thing, while both vehicles do support Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, the larger and nicer screen in the Sportage only supports them if you're hooked up through USB. The smaller 8-inch screen in both and the larger screen in the Escape do support wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay though. You're going to find 6 speakers standard in the lower trim levels of both vehicles, but in the higher trims you're going to find an 8-speaker Harman Kardon audio system in the Sportage and a 10-speaker Bang & Olufsen system in the Escape. If you really enjoy audio, you're probably going to want to look at the 8 or 10 speaker setup, but the cabin is smaller in both vehicles, so you won't be disappointed either way. Inside both vehicles you're going to find either cloth or synthetic leather seats, with heated first row seats standard in most trim levels of both vehicles. But the Sportage has one thing you won't find in the Escape, and that's the option for ventilated first row seats in the higher trims. I love having the air-cooled first row seats, and I'm honestly not sure why Ford hasn't included that in the Escape yet. Both the Escape and the Sportage have the option for a full panoramic sunroof in most trims that just opens things up so nicely. You'll find 5 seats in both vehicles with a good amount of headspace in the first row. The second row of each also offers good headspace and good foot space. Pricing isn't too far off, but the Escape is the more expensive option of the two, coming in at around 10% or more comparatively. In Canada, you're looking between $32,700 and $52,500. In the US, that's $28,400 and $45,900. The Escape ranges between $35,000 in Canada and $58,700. In the States, it's around $31,000 and $50,500. But if you're planning on picking one up, here's a recommended build you could consider for each. The Kia Sportage, you're looking at the X-Line Limited in Canada, or the SX Prestige with all-wheel drive in the States. That's going to ring in at $48,483 in Canada and $37,715 in the States. For the 2024 Escape, you could look at the ST Line Select with Tech Package 2 and the panoramic sunroof. In Canada, that's going to be $46,894. In the States, that's $40,330. In the builds I recommended here, the Sportage would have the 2.5-liter engine, all-wheel drive, air-cooled first-row seats, a sunroof, 360 camera, and the blind view monitor. The Escape would have the much more powerful 2-liter turbo, a panoramic sunroof, all-wheel drive, and a 360 camera, while also having park assist and a head-up display. So, do you go for the Sportage or the Escape? It's going to depend on what you find important in your vehicle. If you're looking for the best towing capacity, a head-up display, and slightly better fuel economy, then the Escape is for you. The Sportage is for the buyer who wants something that isn't as expensive and has unique tech like the blind view monitor and air-cooled first-row seats. As of the time of shooting this video, there are more NHTSA owner complaints against the Sportage, specifically the hybrid, and while both vehicles do have some recalls, it looks as though there were already solutions that are in place. But that was a look at the Sportage compared to the Escape. Hope you enjoyed the video, and be sure to share it if you think someone might also find it helpful. If you want more in-depth videos on either vehicle, you should also check these videos out.